And you're listening to Communities Live on Sheffield Live Radio 93.2 FM with me, Susie Casson, and T-Boy. And we're joined in the studio by Phil Daly from Sheffield Against Fracking. So welcome, Phil. Thanks for coming in. So first of all, you said there's been some breaking news about fracking. Can you?
Yeah, from what we know from places like America and Australia, we know how dangerous fracking is. And fracking was started in the United States. And they're gradually coming to the conclusion that it's not safe. And recently, Maryland in America have actually said that they want to ban it outright. So I've got a quote here from Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, who has recently announced his full support for a fracking ban in Maryland. So he actually said, the legislature has failed to take tough fracking action and failed to enact tougher fracking regulations. The environmental risks are too great and outweigh any potential benefits. He said a ban on fracking will safeguard Maryland's environment. Protecting the clean water supply and natural resources is critically important to Marylanders. He summed up by saying, we simply cannot afford the door to be open to fracking in our state. Senator Robert Zirkin of Baltimore, whose neighbouring county, was at the joint press conference with Governor Hogan, said, there is no safe way to do fracking in this state. The technology to do that just does not exist. With the mountain of research growing every day about the dangers of fracking from Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, showing a 40% increase in premature births, to earthquakes in Oklahoma and Pennsylvania, and potential cancer clusters around fracking sites, there is simply no regulatory way to protect our citizens from the dangers of this technology. The same techniques will be used in the UK.
Wow. And you are a member of Sheffield Against Fracking. Can you tell us a bit about the group and what you do?
I'm part of Sheffield Against Fracking. We started it about 3 years ago. It's in opposition to this extremely dangerous fossil fuel extraction method. INEOS are the main companies that will be do this method. They've got a really bad record in their own industry. They've been fined hundreds of thousands of pounds for the negligence that they've caused, and they've never fracked as well in this area. So we're very concerned about that. We're concerned about the local residents being involved with fracking, particularly to air, water, and the health of children and elderly, which we know now from what we're seeing in the United States and Australia will be affected greatly by it.
Yeah. So can you just explain really simply what fracking is, please?
Fracking, or to give its correct name, is high-volume hydraulic fracturing. It's an extraction method that involves drilling deep underground and then sending horizontal pipes along through the shale rock. They then explode the pipes underneath to crack the shale open, and then they pump a cocktail of highly dangerous chemicals, water and sand into the shale rock at high pressure to release the gas that's mainly made up of methane. Methane is actually a really bad potential global warming greenhouse gas.
Yeah. And what would you say the main problems associated with fracking? You mentioned a few of them. Well,
we've found from research that we do, we've got things online and things that we put out on leaflets and things like that. Fracking is a danger to human health due to contamination of water aquifers underground that they have to drill through to get to the shale rock. So we know that 5% of all fracking wells drilled in the US leak immediately. If an aquifer is contaminated, there's no putting it back to how it was. Contamination of people's air is also a major concern. Fracking companies will vent what's called VOCs, which is volatile organic compounds, into the atmosphere. People living close to fracking sites in the US have experienced nosebleeds, nausea, vomiting, sore and runny eyes due to venting and diesel fumes from the actual site itself from compressor stations. Many people in Oklahoma in the United States have had their homes and businesses damaged by earthquakes from fracking operations. So other adverse effects are wastewater spills. So they need between 5 and 8 million gallons of water per well. So wastewater has to be removed by road from the actual fracking site. This wastewater contains radioactive materials. which is radium-226 and 227, which we know to be cancer-causing or potentially cancer-causing. There's also a worry about the thousands of wells that will be needed to actually get to production levels. It could be hundreds of thousands of wells across the countryside, blighting the countryside, industrialising the countryside. This is going to have a major knock-on effect to things like tourism and people wanting to come from overseas and visit the area. So a lot of businesses will be affected by this.
Yeah.
So there's also a worry about movement, traffic movements, the amount of lorries coming in and out, noise pollution, light pollution. They have to drill 24 hours a day. So there's going to be lots of light still going on. The compressor stations get to 85 decibels. So this is the kind of disturbance you'll be getting 24 hours a day while they actually drill.
Well, there certainly seem to be a lot of reasons against fracking.
Yeah.
Are there any arguments to support the idea that fracking's a good thing, and what would you say in response to those?
We have looked at all the areas, and virtually every area that they've put forward, from everything from jobs to our safety can be done, has not been proven to be correct. They'll say that it'll create so many thousands of jobs. Just to give an example, at the Quadrilla inquiry, they said that they were going to create hundreds of jobs in that area. We know how many it created. It created 22. And most of these jobs will be going to specialists who who know about the actual industry itself. So a lot of the knock-on effects from that, if there is jobs, there will be lower grade jobs, probably for cafes, guest houses and things like that, which will be short-lived because a fracking site is usually short-lived and then they move on to the next area. So the arguments that that it's good is not right. So from our point of view, especially on climate change, the climate change angle, and trying to keep global temperatures low, fracking is actually even worse for the environment than CO2. It's actually 86 times worse due to the methane, and it's a potent greenhouse gas. It makes climate change much worse than as if we were burning fossil fuel, coal, things like that. So, and the methane emissions that they actually release, as soon as you start to drill, you will release methane straight away, and the emissions cannot be stopped. The industry say, "Oh, we'll do everything we can to mitigate it and stop the methane emissions." It cannot be stopped. Once it actually goes into the air, that's into the atmosphere, and it can't be brought back again. So, and it's warming the earth even more. So.
And fracking is going on kind of worldwide. Where is it going on in the UK at the moment?
In this area, we'll start with this area first. South Yorkshire area is licensed mostly to INEOS. There are some areas in South Yorkshire that have got Warwick Energy, and they've got Quadrilla part of their licence applications. So we've got at the moment, we're just over the border in Derbyshire. We've got a place called Marsh Lane. INEOS want to actually drill there, which is literally just over the border from Sheffield, very close to Mosborough. Mosborough is in Sheffield, and Eckington is part of Marsh Lane, which is Derbyshire. We've got Miston Springs, it's near Doncaster, and Tinker Lane in the same area. And of course, we've got the big areas where you've got most of the protests now. Preston New Road, which is Lancashire, where the local council were overruled by the Community Secretary Sajid Javid. The people said no, the council said no, they said we don't like that answer, we're going ahead anyway. And now I've just found out that it's costing £450,000 a month to police that site, which will be replicated across every site across the UK. So all the councils will have to pay this and more, probably. They're talking £650,000 a month to actually police an area. If they weren't going into that area in the first place, if they weren't fracking in that area in the first place, we wouldn't need to pay this money out. But the community has been overruled, and the police are standing there guarding the site.
Wow. So there's growing concern about fracking. If someone wants to get involved, what can they do?
Well, first of all, there's lots of different groups across the country. There's over 400 anti-fracking groups at the moment in the UK. Just in this area, we started different. As soon as we find out if a fracking firm is coming to the area, we will start a group. But in the Sheffield area, certainly join Sheffield Against Fracking. We're on a website. We've got our own website. We've got a Facebook page. We're on Twitter, so you can find us all on these places. We've got Mosborough Against Fracking, which is in the south of Sheffield. We heard rumours potentially that Stannington might actually be part of fracking, so we started a group there, Stannington Against Fracking. There's going to be fracking in Rotherham, Harthill. There's a site in Harthill, so there is now a Harthill Against Fracking. All the time the fracking industries come in, we actually motivate people to actually do something about it and show them how to start groups up and get up and established.
Yeah. And what would you see, Phil, as the ideal solution to our future energy needs?
Well, fossil fuels, as we know, I think it's 97% of scientists say 80% of fossil fuels must stay in the ground. If that's the case, then fracking is a new industry. We should not be looking for new fossil fuels. Fracking is a fossil fuel. We know that renewable energy is safe compared to fracking. Renewable energy will not warm the climate compared to fracking. Fracking is dangerous compared to renewable energy to human health. So people's air, water will not be affected by renewable energy, whereas with fracking, we know it will be. The communities will not be affected by lots and lots of different truck movements, traffic movements, water spillages, potential radioactive waste, explosions. We've just seen a thing this morning again, setback distances from wells, even more explosions happening in America, very close to schools. How do you evacuate a school from a potential explosion area that could give them serious burns and things like that? These are all the new things that are coming out every day. We've got health professionals in America, concerned health professionals in New York, in America, and MedAct in this country say fracking can't be done safe on health grounds, and have warned against actually going ahead full scale with fracking in this country. At the moment, fracking is exploratory. If they're allowed to continue, it will continue to get worse.
Well, thank you very much, Phil. That was a really clear update. I hope you can come in and let us know what's happening again.
Okay.
And can you just remind us how people can find out more about Sheffield Against Fracking?
Yeah, we've got our website. So our website is literally just sheffieldagainstfracking.org.uk. You can go on to Facebook, just Sheffield Against Fracking. Twitter, which is NoFracChef, or at NoFracChef. And there's also, we've got some events coming up. So on tomorrow, we've got a thing, what we call Are We Going to Be Fracked? Which is going to be a presentation by a member of SAF. She's very good. She's actually been on Sheffield Live, Kate Dixon. So that's going to be at Mosborough Miners Welfare tomorrow, 7:30 p.m, which is Station Road, Mosborough, which is S25AD. On the same day, there's going to be a INEOS consultation in advance of their planning application. That's on 2 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. That's Marsh Lane Community Centre. And also we're going to be at all fairs across the actual South Yorkshire area. So we're going to be at Chesterfield May Day. We're going to be at things like Sharrow Festival, Heatley Festival, all the festivals we're there giving information out. And just last one is we're going to be at Crystal Peaks. It's going to be an Eco Week, which is Saturday 20th of May. Part of Crystal Peaks Eco Week. So we're going to have SAF, which is Sheffield Against Fracking, MAF, which is Mosborough Against Fracking, inside Crystal Peaks Shopping Centre, giving information on the dangers of fracking. That's going to happen